And lastly, wrapping it up, obviously, Newbury have been renowned for, well, you have dealt with some big players using equipment for different bat makers. There is a picture that circulated with Tendulkar using an Adidas bat.
Yes.
With a hammer edge sheet on it. Does that mean it was a Newbery bat or not? Because hammer edge is only a Newbery bat. So I'm just wondering whether Tendulkar may have got his bats made.
Matthew, you put me right on the spot here. There's been many players that have used, through the early stages.
No, and the reason why I asked, obviously, you can literally Google Sachin Tendulkar batting in a test match with an Adidas bat, and every bat he has a hammer edge stick on it. But what I'm asking is, do you find, now it's just me putting you on the spot, I'm not meaning to, but and I'm not trying to dig myself out of a hole here, but when I was sponsored by Slazenger, I went and bought Newbie bats.
Yeah, so
Slazenger are no longer in existence.
I think when I first started, I was shocked. I was shocked. We had, at the time, we were using certain bat makers at that time. We were making, probably 8 out of the top 10 world batters that were using particular make. That were using our bats. But it still happens now. If you look at the England team, with people like Joe Root, whoever it is, they'll be using UK bat makers.
Yeah.
And then putting their stickers on, which is fair enough.
The company doesn't care because they're.
Of course they don't. So a lot of companies. Again, I don't want to say who, but we made, we had 2 test players that were coming to us on a weekly basis saying, look, we need, 5 or 6 bats. Can you make them?
Is this recent?
Not so recent now, but it was, a couple of test players.
Recently,
recent enough.
Open bracket, close bracket.
We were making for, and it's we've done all over the world. We've been so lucky. And also a lot of touring teams, like I said, with Tendulkar, obviously when he was touring, when India was touring here, he popped in.
See how he's done that? He hasn't answered the question, but he's subtly gone around it.
Yep. So he popped in, and then we took him to the factory, and he got some bats made.
But they do that. I mean, even when I went overseas, I went to some of the factories when I was playing with Scotland. You go and have a look at them because I'm actually interested in bat makers.
Of course, no, exactly.
I find it interesting.
I think it's also like a no-brainer. If you've got an opportunity to go into somewhere and watch someone make a bat in front of you at that time in exactly what you want, that's gold dust.
Absolutely.
But the ones that Tendulkar had originally were railway sleepers.
Really?
Absolutely shocking in terms of looks and how heavy they were. They were £3 picked up like railway sleepers. Honestly, I just couldn't pick them up.
And you go to the gym?
I try to. But honestly, for a bloke who was, I don't know how tall Tendulkar is.
Smaller than me, 5'4".
Yeah, it's just for smaller than you. I couldn't believe it. I was shocked. I was actually stunned. And you watch him on the short ball, or did watch him on the short ball, and you couldn't believe how he could pick these things up.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, you've had lots of players and some amazing players that have used the brand, and we've always had a stance the whole time I've been there and before, we've not paid players.
Yeah.
So
which is what the big companies do. Of
course. So for people that don't really understand how it works, there's a lot of money that goes into supporting players. That's just not just kit. That's actually paying players.
Physically paying them.
Physically paying players, which is
US dollars.
Exactly. It's
British pound notes.
Exactly, which is as a small
Japanese yen.
as it's a small brand, it's very difficult to.
I think it's a loss leader. I'm going to say it. I think paying players over the long run is a loss leader unless you are a massive company like your New Balance.
Yeah, of course. If you
that's where you're going to get the money.
If you have shoes, and you have like Gray Nichols, for example, you have Graves, you have Gilbert, you have all these other funding around your brands. Fair play to them. Fair play to them. You can do that.
You're not going to get your county journeyman selling you 100 bats, getting that money back, are you? In county cricket, when you get 500 people. And 65% are over 65 and they can't see 200 yards. And
that's why you wouldn't see, I'll use an example, that's why you wouldn't see when we had Mason, for example, you had Mason on.
Yeah, we had Mason Crane. You haven't seen that podcast, go check it out. But
Mason
was with the Newbie, wasn't he?
He's always been with us the whole time, and then obviously plays a test match in Sydney.
Yeah, after Christmas. But he was in contract with Newbury to the end of that year, wasn't he?
He was, and then he finished.
So let me get this right. Mason was with Newbury.
Yep.
His contract ran out. December.
As pretty much the test match had finished.
And then he was signed with, who did he sign with?
New Balance.
So he went from Newbury to New Balance and played the test.
Same with Joff. When Joff first came over,
Joff was Newbury.
Yeah. With Newbury with us. We looked after him for a period of time, and then once he started getting into the team and sort of getting obviously well known and started doing what he's doing now is unbelievable.
But Adidas came along with a big, presumably a big paycheck.
No idea what it got, but he's always going to move on.
And I don't blame that because as a sportsman, your career's short.
100%. That's something I'll never ever stop.
You've got to make as much money as you can in a short period of time.
Toby ROLAND-JONES, he's a bowler, and we had him for a period of time, and then
played
for England, and then Kookaburra jumped on the scene and said, "Look, there's whatever."
Which is fair enough. But the company have always made a stand on play players, which is
you cannot judge players on that. Unfortunately, loyalty now is
fickle.
It's fickle, and players come and go now with a lot of sponsorship now, and it's expensive, and we don't. And that's why you won't see newbie. That's why we get a lot of people coming and going, why isn't newbie this? Why isn't newbie that? And why are we not, seen on the world stage? Purely because it's just we're not going to fund.
Everyone who would have played for England this year will be paid to use kit, without a doubt.
Fact. Absolute fact.
Absolute fact.
Absolute fact.
And so I'm obviously the cricket circle. You talk. Some of the numbers that these top boys get paid is frightening. But they are the best players in the world for a reason.
Exactly, and that's
like the best players.
So fair play to them.
But Michael, we'll wrap up there. It's been a very enjoyable podcast. I learn more and more every time I speak to you about cricket. It's brilliant. But for everyone listening, I hope you've learned a lot. I have personally learned a lot, and it's given you a great insight into how the other half of cricket works. So Michael, thank you very much again for coming on.
Pleasure,
and thank you very much.
I see.